Hey everybody, thank you so much for checking out our very first episode of Good Morning Alderaan. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for giving us a shot and checking us out. This episode was initially supposed to be kind of a tester episode for us, but the banter we thought was so good and so fresh and energetic and just kind of encapsulated some of the scope of the show, although it's a little bit discombobulated. I think future shows are going to be a little bit more concise and structured, but this was just kind of us being excited and talking about our passion and our own personal histories with Star Wars. And so we decided to release that as episode 1. That being said, I had a little bit of a technical hiccup. Future episodes will sound like this now. What you're hearing right now, it will sound like this, I promise. The episode itself does not quite have the same kind of acoustic love as this one does. We'll get into that later. But enjoy. Again, thank you so much for checking us out, and may the Force be with you.
Hello there.
He's no good to me dead.
We're fine. We're all fine here now. How are you?
I think you'll fill in nicely.
This is where the fun begins.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for news, reviews, and interviews from your favorite galaxy far, far away. My name is Pat. Don't call me Padawan Collins. And my co-host is the mayor of Alderaan himself.
Also known as Andy Hanlon, but we'll go with the mayor. Well, I'll accept it.
We'll go with it.
I just want to let everyone know, we'll give a nice friendly reminder that we're here talking about all up-to-date news and releases. So if you have not seen or read about just every piece of related Star Wars content, then please proceed knowing that spoilers may be imminent.
Yes, it will be a spoily-soily episode. So if you've not, it's a spoily-soily podcast. Not even just the episode. The podcast itself, the nature of it is talking about all things current and all things past, all things future of Star Wars. We're the Christmas Carol of Star Wars podcasts, I would say, where we're talking about the Ghost of Star Wars Past, Ghost of Star Wars Present, and that pesky, feisty, ever-changing Ghost of Star Wars yet to come.
Force Ghosts? Are we talking Force Ghosts?
We could. Oh, who'd play Ebenezer Scrooge in the Star Wars Christmas Carol?
Like a Star Wars character to play Ebenezer?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Who would be Scrooge like?
I got one, but I want to see what you say.
I was thinking like a Chancellor Palpatine, like when they don't know he's the Emperor. He'd be a good Scrooge.
But at the same time, he would know. You know what? I think it has to be full-blown shithead Palpatine who is like...
Yeah.
Yes.
I could also see, a member of the Jedi Council being a little bit Scrooge-ish, not allowing love and marriage and all that. Like what's his name? Keoru Mundi? The really conehead-looking guy?
Yep.
He seems a little uptight for me.
He is a little a little wound tight, I feel. But
yes.
Hey, we're not here to talk about Christmas. We're here to talk about Star Wars. So this podcast is a celebration, I would say, as well as an outlet for you and I. We're two longtime friends. We've known each other since we were 14, so pretty near over 20, almost 20 years. Our 20-year friendship anniversary is coming up this year. So this is our present to each other.
Ooh.
To start this podcast.
I'm excited.
We found in each other a sort of camaraderie, not only through sports and through, the usual goofings off of grade 9 gym class, but we found a mutual love of Star Wars. And I think this podcast is just, an outlet for us to just be able to talk about this series that has such a hold on not only pop culture and media itself, but a lot of my childhood. I love the Wars.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I think it's one of the things since we met each other, like way back when, that we really bonded over, for sure. And I just want to put it out there, like, to everybody, we're still guys. We like sports. We got families. We got jobs. We're not just dressing up in our basements doing all this crap just for all the shits and giggles of it all. But we just love it. And it's one of the cogs in the wheel that makes us us. And I'm not going to apologize for it. So if anyone from high school is listening to this, wants to judge, then get over yourself. I'm leaving that in 2004 where it belongs. Go F yourself.
Yeah, you've wedgied us enough.
Yeah. I never got wedgied.
I didn't either, but I'm pretty sure they talked about it once.
Yeah, it would have been a good story.
Yeah, shoot. Yeah, again, this podcast is kind of I feel like I almost have to do it because I've accumulated so much Star Wars facts and trivia and knowledge over the years. And I'm not, blowing my own horn. I'm not. I'm no Favreau or Filoni, but I've acquired so much of this knowledge just through the passion of absorbing it all and intaking it all through the books and the video games and the shows and of course, the movies, naturally. But that just stemmed from the 3 VHSs that I had from the 10-year anniversary edition of Star Wars when that came out in 1987. I think those were the first VHSs that my mom purchased. So that's all we had on the TV was just the wars.
Yep.
But it's just like I need to talk about this. I need to just say, or have someone to talk to and bounce some of my harebrained ideas and theories over. And that's another piece of camaraderie that you and I have come to lean on each other.
Yeah, like I'm not going to pretend to know that I know everything about Star Wars because I certainly don't. But I feel like I'm very energetic about Star Wars. I enjoy talking about it. It's a wonderful outlet for me, given all that other stuff that I talked about with being a real life adult and having a job and all of that. I think it's important that we have a place to come and just let it fly and get our Star Wars theories out and have some fun.
Be kids again, basically.
Yeah,
it's a big bite of a nostalgic apple.
It's awesome. And I actually was a late kind of entrant into the Star Wars world. I remember the first Star Wars movie I ever saw was Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And I remember a good friend of mine, Matthew, who you may know, but Matthew, now of a different province, he, I remember as kids, he would always say, let's watch Star Wars. And I thought it was the most lame, boring thing ever. I thought it was Star Trek, which I know would be, because I hated Star Trek too at the time, but never wanted to watch it. But then he convinced me to go to Episode 1 at the good old Mall Theater in Guelph, Ontario.
Ooh, Stone Road.
Stone Road Mall upstairs in Stone Road Mall. And we went to that theater, and I was hooked. And I waited and waited, and I didn't actually watch... he kept telling me, you should watch the story in order, Episode 1 right through 6, like do it the actual story chronological way. But just before Episode 2, I couldn't hold out, and I just binge watched the entire original trilogy.
And what did you think? Did the original trilogy stack up to what the action of Episode 1 was? Say what you want, other fans out there, about Episode 1. I was, I think, 13 or 14, 13, I think it was when it came out for us, and I enjoyed it. I didn't see Jar Jar Binks being that, I knew he was a goofy ass, like I could recognize that he was there for comedic relief, and it was not really,
comedic. It wasn't really comedic at all.
but yeah, he wasn't this like damning piece of whatever people think of him that ruined the Star Wars franchise for me. Like he was just there to help connect the dots between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul's lightsabers, kind of things, which is what really brought my milkshake to the yard for enjoying that film. But yeah, that just, again, that showed why Jedi were so feared and badass in the previous stories. Because, like, the original lightsaber battles, as I'm sure you noticed when you saw episodes 4, 5, and 6 after Episode 1, they're a little bit slower than the energy that, Ray Park and Ewan McGregor and
Liam Neeson.
Oh, fuck. Liam Neeson, oh my God. Brought to the table with that big Duel of the Fates.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just hyped me all the more for the Star Wars that was to come from there.
Yeah. Definitely as a kid, I was attracted to shiny things. So seeing the original prequel trilogy in all of its, at the time, CGI glory. Looking back now, the whole scene where Anakin tosses a piece of fruit over to Padme and she stabs it with a fork and it's completely computerized is like the worst scene in the movies. But yeah, I was attracted to flashy lights and I liked it. And at the time, I'm like, oh, the originals, like, they're okay, but too bad they didn't make those in this era when all the technology was there to make that Obi-Wan Vader fight scene even way better. Which, I mean, with the announcement of the Obi-Wan movie and Hayden Christensen's coming, like, we're gonna get that ultimate Vader Obi-Wan showdown. So, like, I'm just super ecstatic for that. But at the time, I remember thinking, like, this is okay. But as I got a little bit older and started appreciating them, like, the original movies were very, in my opinion, well written. So while they were well written, you know, the prequels had better technology and better action, but they, on some degree, were poorly written. I did enjoy, actually, episode 1, with the exception of the pod race scene. I'm not a huge pod race scene fan. I was as a kid.
Oh no!
But as I get older, I'm not a huge fan of it. I enjoyed it, but I felt it a little bit long.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like they could have shortened that down a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed Liam Neeson. I'm hoping at some point Liam Neeson can make some sort of a cameo, hopefully in the Obi-Wan TV series, but really enjoyed Obi-Wan. And when it comes to Jar Jar Binks, I mean, Pat, the ability to speak does not make you intelligent here. I thought Jar Jar was a little bit of a mess.
That should be the subheading of this podcast itself. Is just because we're talking doesn't mean we are the.
Yes, that actually defines both of us at some point.
Pretty much. I think they learned a pretty quick lesson with the fans' reaction to Jar Jar as to, you know, let's not show him so much in episode 2 and even less in episode 3. In fact, let's make him just sad in episode 3. But yes, poor Jar Jar.
I wonder what happened to him, though. I mean, I wouldn't. This is totally a future podcast episode, I'm sure, especially when the Obi-Wan stuff starts coming out, because Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite character in Star Wars ever, whether it's Sir Alec Guinness or, as far as I'm concerned, Sir Ewan McGregor. I love the Obi-Wan character, hands down. But I would love to see some sort of, like, Obi-Wan one last kind of ditch effort appealing to Anakin's goodness in the Obi-Wan series, and then some sort of scene for Hayden Christensen, like, to take off his mask, because I feel like we're going to get some Christensen Vader mask off time
for sure
in this series, but to have him sort of prove his evilness by holding up the head of Jar Jar, like decapitate Jar Jar in the Obi-Wan series and throw it at Obi-Wan's feet, because we never know what happens to Jar Jar. We just think he's roasted on some sort of pit with a apple in his mouth, or spit, sorry.
Yeah.
But I would love to see some sort of, like, sacrifice of Anakin Skywalker's soul by throwing the head of Jar Jar Binks at Obi-Wan's feet.
Be dark. That's a little well, especially I don't think they would go there, just based on the last year's redemption of Ahmed Best, how he was brought to Celebration and everyone cheered F out of him just because he was so demonized over the years, that I don't. It would be a powerful statement throwing the head of Jar Jar Binks at the feet of Ewan McGregor, but
it'd be so good. That, or, you know, if they want to go a totally different direction and give Jar Jar some, like, last ditch effort, like he dies in some heroic moment, like maybe he saves Grogu. Maybe we see a flashback scene where he actually saves Grogu.
Oh, that would
only
be
to
amazing.
die at, like, the blaster of a stormtrooper.
Yeah,
that would be interesting to me.
He just, like, just full on Hail Marys Grogu into a escaping starship or something.
Yeah, Heisman.
Well, Heisman. Heisman. But going back to your Ewan McGregor versus Hayden Christensen, that could, and I read this. I'm sorry, I didn't write down the author of the article. I apologize. When, of course, they're listening, but when they hear this, you know who you are. It was an article that I saw that would totally explain one kind of mysterious line in Return of the Jedi, and that was, Obi-Wan once thought as you did.
Right.
About when Luke was trying to bring him back to the good side.
See, I always thought that meant when we saw in Revenge of the Sith. Like, I always thought that could be. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be construed as that. It could be like that could be the justification for that line. Be like, oh,
Right.
that was him just saying, "You were the chosen one. You're supposed to not be a dick.
I loved you.
I loved you."
You are my brother, Anakin.
And so, yes, that could be just kind of washed over and say, "Oh, that's what he meant." But I think that's gonna be like the pull of them having some good like Force connection hangout sessions, and
I think we're gonna. I also think we're gonna see, as much as this is an Obi-Wan series, I think we're gonna see a lot of. I'm hoping anyway, that this isn't sort of just like a very quick one and done Vader kind of scene. Like, I'm actually kind of hoping there is some connection. Perhaps they play to the connection a la Rey and Kylo Ren with the Force connection.
dyad.
Yeah, the dyad and the Force. Like, I wonder if there would be some sort of moment there where Anakin's actually quite conflicted about betraying the Jedi and Obi-Wan and Padme and all of that, and then it allows sort of like flashbacks and imagery and just different things, almost like his PTSD, right? And if that would play a role. But when it's interesting you just say dyad in the Force, because I forever was hoping that Rey would have been, yes, the granddaughter of Palpatine. I was fine with that. I'm not necessarily satisfied with Rise of Skywalker and how quickly they rushed it, but the story. But I was okay with her being Palpatine's granddaughter. But I still always had the belief, and it's still possible, that she was also the granddaughter of Obi-Wan. That Obi-Wan fell in love while on Tatooine, had a child, and then that child grew up, and then eventually fell in love with the Emperor's son.
Yeah, the
and
semi-clone that he was.
Yeah, because when you talk about a dyad, it would be really interesting if Anakin and Obi-Wan were a dyad in the Force that we see in this flashback Obi-Wan series, because then that would explain directly to years later why Ben and Rey became a dyad. Why? Because of who their grandparents were.
Yeah, very Force-heavy family there.
Yes.
The exception of Han Solo, but that's where the cocky swagger comes in.
Yeah.
But no, that'd be interesting. It'd be.
Hey, kid.
That was another thing. Like, yeah, I thought that was going to be Hayden Christensen right there. Like that scene. I know there was some rumors that Hayden Christensen was going to have an appearance in Episode 9, but that was ultimately just that voice of him saying whatever he said in the final.
Feel the Force, right?
Yeah, feel the Force. Oh. Napoleon Dynamite.
Acting.
God. Feel the Force, you fat lord.
He's doing Canada proud. Oh, Canada.
That's our boy. Oh, Canada. But yeah, but yeah, it was nice to see Han one last time in there. But
I also heard a lot of rumors. I don't know if it's true or not. And again, this is all just like smut on the internet, but that it would have likely been Carrie Fisher in that scene had she not passed away.
Yes.
That would have been more of that she would have used the Force to visit him.
Similar to how Luke did. Yep.
Yeah. Like, even if she died, she still would have used the Force to visit him, and then it would have been more of a fitting scene.
Yes. And then like that tying to, Leia disappearing, fading into the Force.
Because I'm always happy to see Harrison. I mean, even though he doesn't really want to be there, I'm grateful that when his scenes, but the whole fact that he was like, "I'm a vision inside your head" kind of thing, it's just like It would have been better if it would have been an actual Force ghost.
Someone asked Harrison that. They said, "So was Han a Force ghost in the Force Awakens?" And he said, "I don't know what the fuck a Force ghost is, and I don't want to know."
Yeah, God bless him, eh?
Oh, Harrison, you grizzled old Indiana Jones, you.
Yeah, I'm just glad he chose the right gauntlet there.
Yes, certainly. So yeah, we're tying. We're thinking way ahead with this, but the most recent piece of Star Wars media to come out outside of maybe books, I haven't seen what the latest book has come out, but The Mandalorian The Mandalorian has really changed the game for me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'll maybe get painted as a halvesy fan or not even some kind of like not all in, but I was a little bit disheartened by the sequel trilogy. I remember I was asked, because I'm within my family and friend circle a notorious Star Wars fan. I was asked in 2015, what did you think of The Force Awakens? What did you think of the movie? What did you think of it? And my opinion then has, never wavered. It was always, ask me in 2019 when I see how they conclude the trilogy. Because The Force Awakens, I think, was just kind of a carbon copy of A New Hope. It had the, kids stranded in the desert looking up to the stars, looking for an escape. Suddenly, an older mentor comes and saves them and shows them the ropes a little bit. They get a lightsaber. They go on to battle and discover that they're strong in the Force and on the path to the Jedi. X-Wing battle, blah, 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 all done. So I was a little bit like, man, it was fun. It was, it was a reboot for sure, because they're just trying to capture that lightning one more again.
Disney sucking the blood out of that stone.
Oh man, they're squeezing and squeezing. Last Jedi, I didn't enjoy. I applaud Ryan Johnson's attempts at filmmaking and leaving his stamp on it, but and that's just it. Like, I felt entitled. I have no reason to feel entitled. I have no
I never should have trusted anyone with Ryan who spells Ryan with an I. That was my first mistake.
What have you done to us, Ryan? But that just kind of spun things in a weird kind of direction. Like, I think he would have been great in one of the one-off episodes, like a Rogue One or a Solo. But as part of a whole trilogy, I didn't feel it. It didn't really do much for me. As far as, I enjoyed it in the sense that it was Star Wars. It is what it is. If that's Star Wars, then that's Star Wars. I'll still love you and appreciate you. Rise of Skywalker, I enjoyed immediately, but then after rewatching it, I was just like, there's still a lot of unanswered questions for this old nerd bag here. And it just kind of left a blah taste in my mouth, being like, so that's Star Wars, huh? And I fell off the wagon for a while. I stopped reading about Star Wars stuff. I stopped listening to interviews and media and all sorts of different things. But The Mandalorian, coming around full circle after my long-winded sequel rant here, The Mandalorian has, for me, breathed some new life into my love for Star Wars and my enjoyment of it, in taking, a lot of those elements, ties to the childhood that we all garnered from watching the old content of Star Wars, the pre-Disney content, and integrating that into a still very interesting and fun story. So it's doing things for me that it's breathing some life back into the Star Wars franchise for me, and I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, I mean, like, really quickly on the Rise of Skywalker, or the original, like the recent trilogy. Yeah, I mean, definitely Force Awakens was a carbon copy of A New Hope. I totally agree with you. I walked out of The Force Awakens. If you asked me what I thought about that movie, I would say I thought it was actually really good. Because they introduced some new characters. They put a little bit of a twist on it, given that it was sort of a remake in a sense. But it was nice to see some of the original characters back on screen, while introducing some new characters. So I was good with it. And I think the main thing with 2015 and Force Awakens was the fact that it gave me A New Hope. It really got me excited that more was coming. And then I'm definitely like your experience in Rise of Skywalker. I'm kind of like this with every Star Wars movie. I walk out of the theater after every new Star Wars movie, and I am just fucking giddy. I am so happy. I drive home in my car real fast with my hands on the wheel, like zooming through like I'm in a speeder of some kind or an X-Wing, playing Star Wars music from the movies. Like, I'm just so...
I have you now.
Yeah, I'm just so excited. And then I watched it a second time. And I'm thinking, huh, okay. So then I go to the theater a third time, thinking maybe I just saw it too quickly after the first time, and it didn't have the same effect. And then I went to the theater the fourth time
Oh no.
for Last Jedi. I'm talking Last Jedi here. And
Oh.
I'm pretty sure the fourth time was with you again. Maybe not. Maybe it was someone else. I can't remember. But
I think I saw it twice.
but it just sort of laid off. And the whole, I mean, I was excited to see the Snoke scene. It was very shocking when, spoiler alert, Kylo, uses the Force to ignite the lightsaber and cut him in two. Like, it was all very shocking, but the whole scene where he's like, come here now, and he, like, forces Rey over to the window to see all her friends in trouble was so Return of the Jedi with the Emperor and Luke. But then to revisit that scene with the Emperor and Rey again in The Rise of Skywalker, be like, look above, your friends are in trouble. Like, it was just all so forced and so rushed. I'm starting to think, like, I was very excited when J.J. Abrams took over the trilogy. I was actually one of the people that was really, like, adamant that they should have just let him do the entire thing.
Yeah.
Like, because clearly The Rise of Skywalker was him course correcting and trying to make up for what Rian Johnson took a different direction. That's just my opinion. I don't care if he denies it. But at the same time, can JJ close? Can he close anything that he does? Like, I was a huge Lost fan.
Yep.
And that shit, like, last season was not great. And I love Lost. And I rewatched Lost on Amazon Prime. But,
free ad.
Yeah. Free ad, Amazon. There you go. Send me some free shipping. But I just don't know if he can close. And there was another show. What was it on NBC that JJ Cannon came out? But it got canceled after 2 seasons. I forget what it was called now. It was about sort of like a post-apocalyptic world kind of thing. It was pretty good, but again, didn't continue, right? So, like, I just wonder. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Filoni and Favreau saved Star Wars, bringing us to The Mandalorian. And while I've read some things on the internet with Mandalorian, like, I think The Mandalorian is excellent.
Yeah.
It is combined every sort of, like, kind of lost piece of Star Wars or things that we've kind of heard about or read about in different avenues before, with a throwback to the Skywalker trilogy. Like, we heard all these advertisements with Rise of Skywalker, the end of the Skywalker saga. Like, bullshit. Mandalorian has brought us more Skywalker content in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
In a good way. In a great way. Yeah. Than the prequel trilogy ever did.
You sent me this picture. I'd seen the meme, but I'd not read any of the comments. You circled this one comment and sent it to me, like, probably an hour before recording this.
Well, actually, someone sent me, someone I know sent me the picture, and it was already circled. So it wasn't me that circled it.
Oh, it was? Okay. You didn't circle. Okay. So there's a picture of, it's a picture of J.J. Abrams on top, and then below is an image of Jon Favreau. And the J.J. image is saying, we can't satisfy the original trilogy fans while also appealing to a new, younger audience. And Jon Favreau's quote is, hold my beer.
Yeah, great meme.
And so, like, I thought it was a great meme. It's like, yep, there we go. Yeah, go Favreau, go Filoni, yay. Like, not damning JJ. Like, I'm sure he would have done, a pretty good job had he had control of the whole thing. Like,
I think he could have. He
hasn't really been damned in the shit talking of the sequel trilogy. Like, his name doesn't really come up saying, like, oh, JJ was a part of the ruin. Like, unfortunately for Mr. Johnson, he kind of takes a big brunt of that, but and maybe deflects a little bit from JJ's contributions to it. But yeah, Favreau and Filoni are definitely kind of held in a sort of halo effect now.
Mm-hmm.
But this one comment down here said, negative. They completely bastardized that series. 13 out of 16 episodes were just cliche, formulaic, run-of-the-mill, episodic TV with a Star Wars skin. And you know what? Like, on some levels, I can't disagree with them. Some of the episodes...
No, some of it's true.
It's very formulaic. It plays out like a video game where the Mandalorian has to beat a different level and go to a different level the next episode and beat a big boss and rescue the baby, with, being disguised as a princess or princess disguised as a baby or whatever.
The Princess Frog.
Princess Frog, yeah, Princess Toadstool. I like it. But at the same time, that's what Star Wars fans wanted. They wanted that kind of predictable yet Star Wars skin wrapped with smatterings of offshoot references. Those deep cut references are what the nerd ass fans like me love. Like those. Oh, I can't even think of the name. That's how nerdy I am, or nerdy I'm not. I can't even remember the name of them. Clargs, whatever Quirrell is riding. Blurg.
That's
Blurgs.
Right,
And
Queel.
Queel is riding Blurgs.
Right. And he trains Din Djarin how to ride one.
Yes, very tricky because they are very, very assholey.
Yes.
But those are from the 1984 and 1985 cuts of what's it called? Caravan of Hope. These like made-for-TV Ewok adventures that they had for the TV. With this one little girl who had crash landed on Endor and had to get rescued by the Ewoks, basically, and lived amongst them because her whole family died from these weird marauder style things. So they took like that from that obscure pull reference. Filoni actually had them in Clone Wars, and he put them in Rebels, I think, as well. But it's a lot of those things. And the way he described getting to helm this series, or co-helm this series, in the gallery, I think it was, whatever's on Disney Plus, it's like the behind the scenes of the making of The Mandalorian. And what he was saying there was, it's like you're the little brother and your big brother gets all the cool Star Wars toys and you get whatever's left over, including like all these off-cut characters and these off-cut, like the Blurgs and the Ugnaughts and the Jawas. But you get a Boba Fett toy and you paint him silver and somehow it's more cool. And it's like, that sums it up. That sums it up entirely right there. It's a lot of these nerdy off-cut references, deep cuts that they still make entertaining. It's like you don't necessarily need to know who Ahsoka is, aside from that she's a badass Jedi. Right. But if you are a deep cut nerd,
she's not really a Jedi anymore.
She is not really a Jedi anymore. Exactly. It's like it's like an even bigger story for you because you just get to have some kind of resolution is to be like, oh, I know her. That's her from the clone stories.
I'm just glad that Netflix stalled Daredevil, so that Rosario Dawson was contract free.
Oh, yes.
Play Ahsoka.
Bless them.
Yes.
Although it would have been interesting to see how Ashley Eckstein would have. She was the voice of Ahsoka, for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
And
I don't even know what she looks like, though. I wonder if she could have pulled off the role.
She could. There was. I read somewhere that there was questions as to her ability to physically act. I don't know. She's more known for voice acting,
right?
Than for physical acting. But yeah, she just embodies so much of that Ahsoka personality and spirit, and literally grew with the character over the 10 years that she voiced her. So like, for as much as Ahsoka screen time as she had, I think maybe they could have potentially got Ashley, whipped into shape, so to speak, as far as acting skills, or physical acting skills. But Rosario was amazing. Rosario was awesome.
Oh, she was good. Yeah.
She was very, very good. So it was hard to really, be in one team or the other kind of thing, just because they're both so great at what they do to bringing that character to life. But yeah, that's another series that's coming up down the line is Ahsoka and her hunt for Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Also Filoni and Favreau.
But again, another deep pull from 1990. I think the first novel came out with the original Thrawn trilogy, I think it was called. With it was a book series where he was first introduced. He was introduced 5 years after, so around the same time as what the Mandalorian is now. He was so the character Grand Admiral Thrawn was he was the only non-human Grand Admiral. Palpatine had a notorious distrust of other races, and he was very racist, the old man that he was, a speciesist rather. And but Grand Admiral
sounds
Thrawn
like the current president of the United States. Huh? Should we not be
president now?
Should we not be political here?
Yeah, we'll try and leave it political free, but
okay, we won't be political free.
We'll make Endor great again. Ourselves in our own way. Or
Alderaan.
Or Alderaan. Yeah, we'll piece it together. We'll fix it, damn it. One of those red hats will just be on a little floating piece of asteroid going through the. Shoot, what was I saying? So Grand Admiral Thrawn was this like brilliant tactician who could decipher complete battle tactics of enemies through their species art, and he could just like Sherlock his way through finding these little deduction kind of clues and figure out the opponent's battle plans and how they would react in certain situations based on their type of art. And he had this like, I don't know, he's a brilliant tactician, yada yada. But he was very much like what he is in the show, very kind of like calm, cunning. He wouldn't reprimand somebody if they got something wrong. He would ask why they got that wrong, who taught him that way, and then he would kill that person, the teacher of the person who gave it to him wrong, kind of thing. Yeah, he was like this brilliant, rich character from the at the time Legends universe, and one of the biggest blows I think to the pre-Disney nerds like me who just spent years reading all these expanded universe stories and coming to love Grand Admiral Thrawn and what he represented. And he was like Luke and Leia and Han's first big challenge since after beating the Empire. It took place about 5 years later, who also then introduced Luke to his later wife in the expanded universe canon of Mara Jade Skywalker, who I think is still going to come back at some point. I think it's going to be in there, and I think maybe that will be part of the reason why Luke ran away from the Jedi Order, is because maybe his sense of loss from losing Miss Mara Jade, which maybe we'll find with Luke and Grogu on their own journeys coming through there. And that's a whole other fan theory coming through is, could Luke Skywalker from the sequel trilogy, could he be a clone? Because in that same book that I was just talking about with Grand Admiral Thrawn, he was utilizing clones of some other old Jedi. And what the cloning process did was it ultimately made you crazy. It turned you into this like maniacal, power-hungry, crazy, weird Jedi. And that happened to Luke. He got cloned and had to face himself. Only the difference was, and how they separated them in the text was, Luke, the clone Luke had an extra U.
Right.
So it was Luke. And the other clone, his name was Joruus C'baoth, but it was Joruus with 2 U's in there as well. So could there be some clone action going on here? I don't know. They're pulling a lot of shit from some of those previous novels, so it might just be a future storyline. Who knows?
Well, they alluded to possibly cloning in Mando and what we think is Snoke in one of the tubes, right?
Yes.
In one of the episodes, so you could be onto something.
Yep. Or maybe that was the clone of Luke Skywalker coming to steal Grogu and be like a weird kind of ruse of, what's his name? Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh yeah. Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon, and some kind of like big backdoor scam to steal Baby Yoda.
I although it would be cool, I kind of hope that's not the case, because the feeling I got when Luke arrived was just so glorious.
Big shout out to Star Wars Theory, that guy who does a lot of the YouTube stuff. I saw his reaction to watching Luke come back. I think as soon as he saw the X-Wing, he just burst into tears. Yeah. He just knew right there. He's like, he's back. It's Luke. And that was just it. It's like the X-Wing, but who could it be? Could it be someone else? Could it be, Sammy Jackson, Mace Windu coming back?
I thought it might be Mace Windu, but when Cara Dune said, one X-Wing, we're saved, I'm like, it's gotta be Luke.
Yeah, one X-Wing.
It's gotta be.
It's Luke. And then the green lightsaber goes off. I was trying to squint and see if I could see his lightsaber when it was just kind of swinging from the side, saying like, "Is that Luke's lightsaber?"
I know, me too. I was also thinking like, green lightsaber. Could it be Ezra? Would they go down that road already?
Yeah.
I was also like rewatching it. I couldn't see in the episode, but like I'm gonna rewatch again to see if I can find it. Like, could we see R2 in the X-Wing in the video sequence when you see the X-Wing pulling into the bay?
Ooh.
On the TV screen, is R2 there? Did I just miss it? But I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter because we think we assume it's actually Luke.
Uh-huh. And well, we can't end off here about what you and your cousin was saying as well, with R2's reaction to Grogu.
Yes.
Do you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's all over the internet now. The first person I heard it from was my cousin for sure. Like, but when R2 kind of tips down to see Grogu, the response is very excited. Now, is the response excitable because it's just a creature that looks like Yoda and R2 remembers Yoda? Or is it because he actually saved Grogu? And I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense that R2 went everywhere. He goes everywhere with Luke Skywalker, and prior to that, he went everywhere with Anakin Skywalker.
Yep.
And one can assume that he was with Anakin when Anakin went to the temple and marched from the temple with the clone troopers in Order 66 to wipe out the Jedi. And it's funny because at the end of Episode 3, what's his name? The real mayor of Alderaan.
Bail.
Yeah, Bail Organa. Jimmy Smits, good old Jimmy Smits. He had said, wipe the protocol droid's mind, right? Wipe his drive. But that's not the case for R2.
Yep.
So you have to think R2 has like the only living memory of all these eras and decades of Star Wars and the Republic and the fall of the Jedi and all of that, which I mean does bring up some concern. Like obviously the prequels I wish would have done a better job explaining, because like the original trilogy, obviously like Obi-Wan doesn't really recognize R2, so we think maybe he does, and we just don't really see that.
Yeah.
So there are some gaps there, but I think definitely R2, there's a really good chance R2 saved Grogu.
Yeah.
Or perhaps, I mean, I know he's a droid, but perhaps sensed some sort of conflict within Anakin, and just sort of left that back door open.
Yeah, there was one emotional deleted scene or deleted dialogue between R2 and 3PO, where the two of them are overhearing Padme and Obi-Wan's conversation about who's killing younglings and all of that. And what 3PO was said, like, could this possibly be true? And R2 said, I don't know. Anakin doesn't talk to me anymore. Like one of those kind of emotional kind of things, how he's just like abandoning everything. So maybe R2 would have been like, you know what? Then fuck you. I'm going to save this kid if you're going to go kill everybody. Save this cute ass baby Yoda.
In 30 years, you're going to regret it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the look on your face. Yeah, so it's quite possible. But I mean, I think the R2 thing makes a lot of sense. But I feel like in a future season of Mando, or perhaps, I mean, I think at some point, whether Pedro Pascal sticks in Mandalorian to the end, I think at some point, I don't think they'll kill him off. I think even if he leaves the show temporarily, like he'll return at some point to conclude it. Like there'll be some sort of reuniting with Grogu because he promised, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're owed that. But you never know. Like maybe Luke and Grogu show up in some of the Ahsoka stuff.
Yeah.
Or in the Rangers of the New Republic. Maybe there is some cameo stuff and we get more than we think, right? Like with Filoni and Favreau touching all of those, I feel like we're going to get a lot of connected storylines, not exclusive to just one series.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of lead into the Battle of Jakku. With all of that going on, and back to your promise thing as well. Who else promised? I think. Oh shoot, there was a meme of that as well. Anakin promised his mom that he would come back and save her. That was tragedy. There was promise of.
He promises Padme something.
Promises Padme, yeah.
In Revenge of the Sith. No, I promise you. And he like grabs her.
Yes.
I forget what he's promising though.
Well.
Yeah.
And then like a lot of these promises end in tragedy, with.
Very true.
With all of it, but who knows? Maybe that's just kind of one of those deep pull nerd coincidences that a lot of deep pull nerds find for people like us.
It'd be also so. There's a lot of theories out there of Grogu. Does he die at the temple that Kylo Ren burns down? Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And are we going to see some crusty old Mark Hamill reprise his role, to replay that scene that we see with him leaning down beside R2 outside the temple.
I think we could.
I think we could see that. For some reason, though, I still have this belief that Grogu doesn't necessarily... I think we're going to see some badass Grogu at some point.
Yeah, we got to. Like, that Yoda flipping craziness it's just too good. That's possibly what saved the Clone Wars for me at that time in my life. I was just like, yeah, the whole movie was just a love story, but, like, Yoda said, "What?" while doing a ninja flip with a lightsaber in his hand. So, like,
yeah,
I'm okay with that.
That was good.
Yeah.
So I think that about sums up what we got to talk about today. I mean,
I'd say so.
We could go on and on, but we want to say some stuff.
We will go on and on. That is the point of a podcast and a serial such as this. I think every 2 weeks is our plan as of right now. So expect the next one in about 2 weeks' time. We got some good stuff coming down the line. We have a couple interviews, one for sure lined up, a couple that are potentials. Very, very excited for those, and we'll announce who those are once we have some firm definite dates and everything. But that's I'd say it's a wrap for us.
Yeah, so for everyone listening, thanks again for hanging out with us. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and give us a rating. We'd greatly appreciate it. Punch it is what I'd like to say.
Punch it, Chewie.
But yeah.
You fucking nerd. You can find us on Instagram at Good Morning Alderaan. And if you have any questions at all about things you want to know or things you want us to talk about, you can send those to gmalderaan@gmail.com. So on behalf of my co-host and I also want to say thanks for listening. And hey, always be a Jedi in the streets.
And a Sith in the sheets.
Ooh, good night, everybody.